Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tate and Paul for another episode of the Pixar Retrospective, the third episode in what will be a 32 episode series. It feels like it's flying by. We're not even 10% of the way through. But that's what makes this exciting, because we're staying in the 20th century to talk about maybe the greatest sequel ever made, Toy Story 2. But before we begin talking, how are we all doing today?
Doing very good. This feels like a bit of deja vu, but people won't understand why it's feeling like a bit of deja vu.
Reunited and it feels so good. Yeah, I'm doing well. Doing well. Happy to be talking about one of the best movies ever made. There, I said it.
That's fair to say. And the deja vu is because at the time of recording, 2 days ago, we all sat down to do a spoiler discussion on Wicked. By the time this video going up, this would have been maybe 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know how far away we are now. I am living in the future whilst being in the present and the past to you guys watching at home. It's a very busy time of year. And if you're watching this, we should have had our first Christmas classic video up, which was The Santa Claus starring Tim Allen. Perfectly timed for the release of the Toy Story 2 video you will be watching. So that is possible if you're watching in December. Maybe you're watching this series in 6 months' time, 3 minutes' time. It's the middle of the year. Yes, we did release these in December. To celebrate the 30th anniversary of the first Toy Story film, released in 1995, we're going to be doing an entire retrospective on the Pixar studio, taking us all the way through to Toy Story 5 in June. And even at the time of recording this video today, we've had a Toy Story 5 trailer this week. We've had a Hoppers trailer today. And if you want a time point for when we recorded, no one's talking about the Hoppers trailer because they released it 2 hours after the Hunger Games trailer, which looks superb, I must add. But I'm not here to ask you both about the Hunger Games. I'm here to talk about Toy Story 2. But this is the first episode of the series. We have people that have all been on it before. And if anyone can take their mind back to the year 2021, we did a little MCU retrospective on the Infinity Saga. Oh, wow, did it go downhill after that saga ended. And we had a running tally of everyone's favourite Marvel character, and I'd put them on the spot on episode 1. So commencing now, Tate, your favourite Pixar character, not even Toy Story, Pixar, one pick.
God, that's hard because it's probably not my favorite Pixar film. That's really tough. That is so tough. I genuinely am finding it really hard to think of one. I mean, from the early years, and I'll talk about this when we go into the review of Toy Story 2, I have lots of fond memories of just Toy Story in general, but I wouldn't be able to pick between Woody or Buzz as far as my favorite character in that film. I'm going to probably then have to pick something from my favorite Pixar film, which means I'm probably gonna have to pick either probably okay, no, I'll pick Woody. I'll take Woody as my favorite Pixar character. Go on then.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I sent a voice message to Paul earlier, totally unrelated, and I cannot say it on a stream. And I'll tell you it's about Woody actually. I've got a theory that no one's ever said before about Woody's roundup and who they were actually rounding up. Yes. Paul, have I ruined it? I've ruined a lot of videos for you recently with adult jokes. Do you have a favorite Toy Story or a favorite Pixar character?
Do you know what? It's tough because I love so many. Oh, it's so tough. I really love so many. I think it's a two-way tie between Carl Fredricksen and Ken from Toy Story 3 because I love Ken. Also because he's, it's one of my favorite actors, Michael Keaton. And also, I just think he's so funny. But also, I love Carl. Mainly because I'm slowly morphing into him, but I love him so much. So I think it's got to be a two-way tie, and then otherwise I'll just end up naming it like Mr. Potato Head.
Am I able to switch to Remy?
Of course, Remy the Rat.
Thank you.
I'll take Remy the Rat.
I'll take Remy the Rat.
Is it Remy
incredible?
the Rat?
Edna Mode.
Yeah, he's played by Patton Oswalt. So
Yeah.
I love Patton Oswalt.
That's, I mean, not to go on a side tangent because we've already tangented away, but Ratatouille is coming sooner than we think. It is in that insane opening 11.
Yeah.
For my sake, mine's quite easy, guys. I'm sorry, mine's Buzz Lightyear, and this is Buzz Lightyear's film. I did see a great.
Lightyear comes later.
I was going to say, you must be so disappointed with Lightyear as a film.
I always have been. I was at the cinema.
I also love Socks. Socks was a great character.
I had my Buzz Lightyear Vans, which are now ripped, RIP, that I had for many years. Unfortunately, they cost a bomb to replace. I was sat there in a Toy Story top, Buzz Lightyear shoes, first screening after work on opening day. And it got to the spoiler alert for anyone that didn't watch Lightyear. Not I Am Your Father, that's today's one. I Am You. And no, we're not talking about Rush Hour 2 either. This was unfortunately the defining. Oh, I hate the term subverting expectations, but Lightyear did it on purpose because everyone knew what the twist was. So because we all knew the twist, they didn't do the known twists, and that's unforgivable. And it's also a war crime that Buzz Lightyear was so boring. Yet this film makes a comment that he was the most popular toy in 1995. No child watched that film and says they want a Lightyear figure. They just didn't. So I've got many complaints which we'll talk about later. But we are here talking Toy Story 2. And without Toy Story 2, there's no Lightyear. Without Toy Story 2, there may not have even been a Pixar studio to the smallest of extents, because these are the early days, and this is the third film made in conjunction at the same time as A Bug's Life, releasing 1 year apart. And as we always kickstart with these, I'm going to talk the IMDb plot synopsis, which is: when Woody is stolen by a toy collector, Buzz and his friends set out on a rescue mission to save Woody before he becomes a museum toy property with his Roundup gang, Jesse, Prospector, and Bullseye. I've never had to read a Toy Story synopsis before. It's incredibly strange to revisit films from my childhood and actually read these sorts of things. And that sounds really weird to say. But where I want to go with this, Tate, I'll hand over to you first. I want to know your history with Toy Story 2, like your memories with this film in particular. Maybe the first one as well, if it blurs into one, but particularly this one.
I'll start with Toy Story 2 because this is where my film journey started in general. Toy Story 2 was the first film I saw in cinema. I want to say it released in UK in 2000, and my parents took me to the cinema to go see it. I think I must have seen Toy Story 1 beforehand on VHS or something like that. My sister's 1 year older than me, so I think kind of the push for films would have been a little bit earlier for her. It meant that I was able to watch films at the same time as her and grow up with them. I had a Buzz and Woody as a kid growing up. I loved playing with them, and Toy Story 2 kind of was the beginning of my cinematic journey, should we say. First trip to the cinema, first time seeing like any film just on a big screen, and I loved it. And that love for this film has continued through the years. It probably ended up being one of the most replayed VHSs in our house growing up, including Toy Story 1 in that. But I think Toy Story 2 was played more. And I think I must have, like, at the time had some kind of, I must have had some kind of knowledge of, like, film in my head to go, this film is better than that film. And understand maybe why. There's more going on. It's more engaging. There's more jokes, and I liked that as a kid. But this franchise, I mean, it captivated me. And Pixar growing up as a kid, I mean, you've talked about kind of, Ratatouille being in that kind of first 11 and stuff like that. I don't think people really understand, especially seeing where Pixar is now, how good of a run they had. And how good this film is within that run, to stand out amongst the films that came in that really long, amazing run, to the point where I think you said beforehand, this is one of the most popular things that people requested being on. Like this is one that I think people are gonna like pick for their favorite kind of overall. And yeah, this film has very, very fond memories with me and like everyone, my entire family.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't think it wasn't the first film that I saw in the cinema. That was 101 Dalmatians.
Great film, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was great. But I do remember seeing it in the cinema. I do remember that. I remember even because it was in 99, 2000, so it was like sort of 5-ish, 6. And even at that age, I loved going to the cinema. I was big into movies, even as a kid. I had it on VHS. Used to rinse the VHS had the game. I did have a Woody. I had a very expensive Woody because one of my cousins, as a little background, has cerebral palsy, quite severe cerebral palsy. And he was basically funded by a charity to go to Disneyland, Florida, because it was one of those things where, I mean, he's still alive today. I'm going to prefix this. He's nearly 40, but they had a thing every year where they were basically like, he may die. They had been saying that since he was born, which shows how medicine's evolved. For 40 years ago, he might die though. So he went to Disneyland, Florida, and because the time they went, Toy Story was big, and it was nearly my birthday. They bought me the official Disney expensive one that with the pull string, you pulled it, and there was a snake in his boot. So that was like, I was like, yeah. And I love Toy Story 2. And now having a kid, watching the Toy Stories, he really likes Toy Story 4, and that's why we had to put him up for adoption. Because I take this shit seriously. No. But that's a joke, guys. I love my Toy Story 2 is just so good. And again, the thing I mentioned the other day, it was another one of those wet day. Yeah. Let's get the old VHS player out at school videos. At Christmas, like, last day of term, we'd watch Toy Story 2, and I'd be like, this is so sick.
Oh, yeah. I can't really compare either of them. It wasn't the first one I saw at the cinema. It was within the year I went to the cinema for the first time. The first time I saw at the cinema was Phantom Menace. But I believe I saw the cinema. I have no memory of seeing the cinema. I have the VHS, which was in a white box for memory.
Yep.
Overpaid a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I, like you, Tate, just subconsciously prefer this to the first. Not that I didn't enjoy the first one as a kid. It was just Toy Story 2 was the one I lent more towards. And as I've got a bit older, I have wondered, because it must have been when the Star Wars Blu-rays came out in 2011, I've realised, hold on, a lot of Toy Stories 2 is parodied on Star Wars, and I didn't really get it until the parody Blu-ray disc was there for everyone to see up front. And George Lucas actually just loved Star Wars being parodied everywhere. Disney could really take note of that, if I'm honest. And I had a Woody and a Buzz, an RC, and an Emperor's Zurg. They're all in the garage still. I know exactly where they are. We're going to get to the next year when we do a clear out of certain things. Because one sibling's moving back out. So the garage is going to get gone through all the childhood stuff. And a big discussion point for me, not for this film, I had the Toy Story 2 PS1 game. Which was, I think, one of those generational games that everyone seemed to have as a kid that surpassed, I wouldn't say it surpassed the film, but the Toy Story 2 PS1 game was on a level of, not like The Last of Us, but for that generation, that was just something everyone had. Everyone at school had that one game. And there'll be a few others, no doubt, like that, but I recently replayed it on the PS5 because I had PS Plus for a couple of months. So I was like, I'm going to download this for the memories. They even added trophies onto it. It was like, I've never come across a PS1 game where they've added trophy support like 25 years later. Platinumed it over a weekend. And 100% of it, which I'd never done to the PS1 game. So that was a little bit of my childhood improved. They need to re-release Toy Story Racer, which was also an excellent PS1 game. Loved that growing up. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this. And as I've got older, and take what you were saying too about Pixar, you cannot appreciate as a child how good these films are. And as an adult, you do appreciate how good they are. But also, I think it explains a lot maybe why parents would take you to the cinema more. I know that sounds really weird, but it was easy, it's accessible. They're entertaining to watch as adults. They're very successful. They're very popular. And I think as well as that, it's a new studio. And I was sat there thinking, okay, animation isn't my strongest suit. If you're thinking of big animation studios that have risen up in recent years, is it Leica that everyone talks about? They've not had the gigantic, hey, our first film made like 600 million. Our second film made like 400 million. I know it's not about money, but they partnered with Disney on day one, it became as big an IP on the spot. And I just couldn't imagine it as a studio. And for them to continuously do completely different projects in those earlier years before we get to the 2010s, it is original concepts, original ideas. They're a studio that are surviving one film at a time. And I don't want to sit here and be like they've declined or do that sort of stuff. There's a lot of company politics and many, many, many different conversations around why they aren't the same now as 20 plus years ago. But it's kind of incredible how they were as a studio. And this is the one thing I will say, and not to be a corporate glazer as such, when I do see that they are criticized for making too many sequels, I agree with the sentiment of it. But this was also a studio that its first sequel was its third film in its origin. Now, granted, they didn't do another one until Toy Story 3, which was a very long wait as a teenager, knowing that Toy Story 3 was going to happen. We'll get to that in a matter of weeks. That's going to be a huge episode to talk about. But if we talk some behind the scenes of this, the reason why this is kind of special as well, the reason this was put in production to begin with was this is the 90s when Disney were doing sequels, but their sequels were direct to video, not even direct to DVD. I think there was a Lion King 2. There was an Aladdin 2. I've never seen any of these, by the way, because I just spent my childhood watching.
There was a Little Mermaid 2 in the same period as well, wasn't there? You had 102 Dalmatians.
There was also Beauty and the Beast 2.
Was there?
Yeah,
yeah.
it's bad.
Beauty and the Beast 2 is actually, like, not to do a different conversation, but of the straight to video DVD sequels, the two that are actually quite decent is the Lion King 2.
Lion King 2 is good.
And yeah, Simba's Pride, that is solid. And Beauty and the Beast 2, The Enchanted Christmas.
I didn't like
I may be biased. I may be biased because the villain of Beauty and the Beast 2 is an evil pipe organ voiced by Tim Curry.
Sorry.
Right? It's an evil pipe
90s
organ.
Tim Curry as well.
Voiced by Tim Curry, who has the great line where they're talking about maybe if he falls in love, we should just leave. And he goes, oh, okay, I'll leave. Oh, wait, I'm bolted to the wall. It's great. I think it's on Disney Plus. It's nearly time for Christmas. And those two are solid. Every other Disney sequel, some are good, some are really, really,
really bad,
really shit. Yeah, not pointing fingers. Hunchback of Notre Dame too.
Yeah, don't go there.
Yeah, they're all the 90s ones, and there was an idea not to put together a team of remarkable sequels, but they wanted a second Toy Story. The first one was gigantic on race. There's actually a joke in this film when they're doing the Buzz Lightyear lane at Al's Toy Barn. They make a backhanded comment at retailers because it's like in 1995 this toy was so popular. They didn't have enough to maintain demand. That was because of the first Toy Story. There wasn't enough Toy Story figures back in the day. Disney did not think it was going to be the hit it was. And when they wanted that sequel worked on, the very interesting thing was, and we didn't talk about this in Bugs Life because this was more for this, Disney wanted the Toy Story sequel. They wanted it done to video like their other ones. However, Pixar's deal was for 2 films, and it did not include sequels. It included 2 films of theatrical release dates. Gosh, that's so relevant in 2025 as well as 1998. And they began working on the said Toy Story 2 sequel with A Bug's Life deep into its production cycle. Due to this, a lot of the higher-ups, we should say, were attached to Bug's Life, and without disrespecting them, Toy Story 2 was very much a secondary in motion behind A Bug's Life. The story wasn't mapped out to the level it is in the finished product. The most important players were all working on A Bug's Life. They didn't even know if the cast would come back. They didn't know what the contracts were, what the deals were, the status of the film. So when it had a very messy production, to put as an understatement. And I think the epitome of that, and I don't know if you guys both know the story, is about the film almost being deleted. This feels like it's on Aragorn kick the helmet level of facts. Like,
yes, I do know about this.
Did you hear the story of how Toy Story 2 almost got deleted? And for anyone that didn't know that story, they didn't kick a helmet and break his toe and scream in agony. someone accidentally inputted a file code that wiped every single bit of footage, every data, every character model render on Toy Story 2. There's one hero of the story called Galen Sussman, who was working from home. Again, any corporates watching, this is why you should encourage your staff to work from home. I believe she was on maternity leave, or she'd just had a newborn, looked after a baby. And because she was working remote, she had the files and she saved this film. Without her, there is no Toy Story 2. God knows what would have happened to Pixar. It would have ever found out if a film got deleted or not. But that's one of the craziest what ifs, I think, in film. Not because of the outcome, just the fact that with this being the third computer animated, fully done film, I guess they hadn't had that logic of, well, if you can't delete a film reel, they exist, they can be duplicated or they can be burned. But for an animated film, if you wipe out that software, what is there? I guess the Batgirl for current conversations is locked away on a hard drive somewhere, which maybe we'll get out one day. Who knows? Zack Snyder literally stole a copy of his Justice League cut. That's known. Like, he actually took the reels, and I respect that because he just did it at home for however many years of campaigning.
National Treasure 3 is going to be Nicolas Cage stealing Batgirl. I'm going to steal a copy of Batgirl. Also, I feel like Nicolas Cage would do that because he's a massive comic book nerd. So
Yeah,
maybe that is National Treasure 3. Maybe that's not a joke.
No, it's actually going to be, I'm going to steal all the test footage from my Superman film and put it out. The film is incredibly meta.
And then he gets CGI'd into the Flash.
Oh, God, yeah.
He finally got to fight the spider. John Peters finally got his Make-A-Wish.
He didn't know, though.
Look, John Peters got what he wanted in the end. Superman fought a giant spider. John Peters won. Okay, he's a happy man. That's all that matters. I do hope that kid. I hope Pixar paid for him to go to college, because if that kid hadn't been born, there's no Toy Story 2.
God, I haven't even thought of it from the kid's perspective.
Yeah,
imagine that. Imagine being like, you are basically the reason Toy Story 2 exists, which means you're the reason Pixar exists, which means you're the reason Tim Allen is still employed. So I hope Tim Allen is paying him annually out of gratitude.
I can't wait to talk about Lightyear with that, because that's. I don't mind doing politics in the channel, but when you replace an iconic voice with Captain America because it's Captain America, we're going to get to that debate of the whole A-lister thing, aren't we? I think Lightyear is going to be like the epitome of that discussion. No, Onward, sorry. Onward and Lightyear, it's going to be back to back.
They cancelled Tim Allen, but he's not cancelled because he's in Toy Story fucking 5.
But also, he was doing the Santa Claus series for Disney when they were making Lightyear anyway. Again, I've got thoughts on that where I disagree with the politics, but I absolutely disagree with him not being in Lightyear. And
I just disagree with Lightyear being made and it not being a movie version of Buzz Lightyear, Star Command, the best animated show ever.
Or just the opening 5 minutes of this film looks better than Lightyear.
Yeah.
It's and an interesting fact. We'll keep talking Bugs Life. It looks better than most video games, even today.
It does.
The opening 5 minutes was the original anthill design from A Bug's Life, which I didn't know until this week. I think they just swapped out the sky for space, and that was the original design. Now I know that when he's flying around the canyons and the rocks, I'm sat there like, you can't spot it directly because there's not leaves and trees, but certain moments like the rocks and the mountains, the volcano things, it actually makes a lot of fluid sense. And we'll talk a lot about Pixar recycling character models in this video tonight, because with it being their third film, they're still developing technology, they're developing character models, renders. I'll talk about Owl a bit separately later, about the consciousness, the design of the humans, which is a really big part of this one. And basically, by the time you're going to get to Incredibles, that's a whole other conversation on, look, they can do it. They can finally animate humans. But this was a fascinating one. And I think a big thing with the behind the scenes on this, once A Bug's Life released in cinemas, so we're talking 98 now, the core Pixar team, it sounds like the Avengers. It's not in trying to be. The names everyone knows: Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, Lee Unkrich. I can never pronounce his name if it is pronounced like that. They went straight on to Toy Story 2 from Bugs Life. John Lasseter took full control of Toy Story 2 from that point. They had a hard release date set with Disney for merchandising reasons, being obviously one of the big films of the year. So they had 9 months to basically reshape this film into what it is. Animators were working day and night. Varied reports, some of which have said they all volunteered. We know what studios can be like. The Pixar
they volunteered.
Yeah, John Lasseter apparently would say overtime is not encouraged, but they would do it and choose to. Again, I'd never side of a studio when you hear this, especially when the film. This is a bit like GTA, right? You hear about, is it crunch time they call it for the games industry? Yeah. The crunch. Yeah. Whenever it's a successful game, they're all like, it was worth it. And whenever it's like a complete abject failure, they're like, this was the worst experience of my life. And I'm sat there like, I guess they got lucky with the Toy Story 2, right? That if you were going to be enslaved to probably expected overtime without me knowing that, yeah, fair enough, it being Toy Story 2 in the grand scheme of things. But there were reports of staff members like literally not sleeping, being there's like a 3-letter term for like an illness you can get like with your wrists for being on the computer too long, basically predating ergonomic keyboards and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, RSI.
So yeah, RSI. There we go.
Repetitive brain injury. Yeah,
that is exactly what a lot of the Pixar animators had. But they would.
It is okay if it's Toy Story 2. Like, could you imagine if you were like, I had to piss in a bucket and sleep in a studio, and John Lasseter was threatening to kill me, and it was Onward? You'd be like, yeah, it's not worth it. It was for Lightyear. You'd be like, I was the one that had to animate the reverse sandwich. It's like, you wasted 2 years of your life, didn't you, friend? Right. At least it's for a bona fide classic.
At least you're probably paid well. That's the other side of things, yeah.
Yeah, at least it's something that you can be like, hey, I made one of the great movies. Not like, hey, do you remember that film that no one likes? You remember that? It was from Monsters University, and my marriage fell apart, and I don't see my kids anymore. And my hand is completely a claw now from pushing the same buttons. But at least I managed to animate 16-year-old Sully.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think the perception is always upon the final product. And we're lucky. We're talking this 26 years later. We can look at Elio as an example, right? Oh, no. Let's go a bit further back. Loads of 15% of Pixar's made redundant just before Inside Out 2 comes out. And even though they all worked on it, I don't know if they've got credits, but they definitely didn't get the bonus. And it grows to, $1.6 billion? And they needed to cut that 15%, apparently. Disney overlords, which we all know far too well. And I think these things are worth talking about, that whilst we can sort of laugh and joke that it ended up being good, which we're all very glad it is, because we wouldn't be here talking about it otherwise. This was obviously a huge risk for the studio still. In their infancy, this is the third film. This is the first sequel. I'm assuming there was a lot of attention on this film the year it released, not as much on The Phantom Menace, because obviously that predates it a few months, but this would have been one of the very big films of the year, expected to be big. And they'd have certain animators, for example, if some of them could do environments, they'd be set to do environments only. They'd apparently balance the teams based on what people's strengths were within animation, which kind of just sounds like basic competency, but we all know that the workplace doesn't always do competency that well. So there's got to be credit there. And
yeah, it makes sense, because I remember John Lithgow talking about Shrek, and he said that he was the only actor in the cast to visit the animators.
Wow.
And yeah, he was like, they were like, he was like, oh, I'd quite like to meet the animators, and they were like, really? And he was like, yeah, I'd kind of like to see what my character's going to look like. And he said that he walked past banks of computers. Obviously, this is like 1999, 2000. And he went, there was one guy, and his whole job was to animate milk in a glass. And that's all he did, was milk in a glass. And another guy's job was just a wheel going over a muddy puddle. He went, and that's the guy's job. And he was just like, this is insane. He was like, it's also probably going to flop. He was like, I don't care. But it is crazy that you probably got a guy that's like, it's just his job to animate a foot crunching on Cheetos.
Did you hear? Sorry to take this off topic because we will laugh at this one. Did you hear about the staff member who's going off social media? So you take it at assault, but did you hear about Tom Holland's bulge in the Spider-Man costume? Someone's job as a CGI artist.
out his cock, yeah.
Bulge, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
they probably had to do the same with cats because there is the butthole cut as well, isn't there? That apparently exists.
But
the butt.
I just
You've not heard of the butthole cut of cats?
Yeah, no, I've heard of it. I mean, the thing you were saying, about they deleted all of Toy Story 2. Do we think that's an accident if you hear about the harsh working conditions, or do you think this is a Titanic?
One angry employee.
Someone put PCP in the chowder type thing. Do you think it's one angry person that's like, do you know what? I actually want to go home and spend my birthday with my wife and kids. Delete.
They put a specific code in. I mean, again, I'm not good with computer coding, but it is an interesting one.
I was meant to go tap, tap, tap left, not tap, tap, tap right. I downloaded the delete all virus. Sorry, guys. Oh, shit. There it goes. Bye, Woody. Crap.
It's a possibility.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
He got offered a job as DreamWorks.
It was Jeffrey Katzenberg. He snuck in and deleted it. Lasseter wakes up in the morning. Katzenberg!
It adds. I think it adds to the history that I think they would have debunked if it was fake at this point in time, right? That it would have been this like insane story in '99, but they would have been found out if they lied. But clearly, they're very lucky because apparently the backing up hadn't worked all too well. I'm just sat here like, imagine someone presses the delete on James Cameron's Avatar 4 and 5. That would be one hell of a story because you'd have found the person responsible like at the bottom of the ocean. Let's talk the animation because
he turned him into compost because look. James Cameron's a vengeful man, but he cares about the planet.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about animation. So when we spoke, I know both you went on the first Toy Story. Me and Aaron had a really great chat about the nonsense we've seen online that, it's outdated now. And we just debunked that because it looks superb still.
Yeah, it's still good.
Bugs Life, we had a fantastic discussion that there's no humans in this. And now they're doing different life forms. They're doing more environments. Toy Story 1, it's essentially 2 houses and a restaurant. That's kind of the whole film setting, and it's creating everything new. Toy Story 2 takes all of this to the next level. We have varying locations, both internal, external. We've got roads, cars, airports. Okay, the toy shop's empty, which is understandable, but it's a very busy film, if I'm allowed to say the word busy. The jump from Bugs Life to this, I think, is immense in terms of the, not quality story, but the quality of the animation, like where this studio is going and where we know it, they're going to go in the very near future as well with Ink and Nemo on top of it. This is a huge step up, which kind of makes it insane that this had such quite a messy production, that this was second fiddle to A Bug's Life. And it's just sort of shocked me that in the scale of, because I've never looked at Toy Story at a lens like this. I've never looked at Bugs Life and these, looking at the infancy of a studio and how the studio has grown. I feel like Toy Story 2, something it isn't respected enough for is that it actually really did make that next jump possible. When you look at the films that are going to come up next, okay, they're not in the water with Nemo for this, but Humans in the Streets, we get Al. That's the first, I don't know the right way of saying this. Al is the antagonist of the film. He is a supporting character, but he's there in Funimation in multiple scenes. Now, I guess in Toy Story 1, you've got Andy and you've got his mom, but it's very sparingly used.
You have Sid as well.
Yes, you've got Sid, which is very similar to Andy's design, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
But there's something about Al where it's the first time they've got a human character, I think, in a more integral role, and for it to, I think, unintentionally look like the voice actor as well, the great Wayne Knight. I don't know why he's just always looked like him. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I find it fascinating that, again, if I'm going to look at the horizon, I forgot her name in Monsters Inc. Boo. Boo is in the film after this. Okay, you're going to get a couple of humans in Nemo, not too many. And then Incredibles is you basically your first human film, although they're superheroes. What do you guys think about someone like Al in this? I know it's weird to say, not necessarily his character, his story, but the animation. Does it feel like that much of a leap, or am I just waffling?
It feels like a massive leap. I mean, it's one of those things where it's I know we've talked about, or you've at least talked about, like the animation still holding up in Toy Story. And the animation does hold up in Toy Story. But if you look at the leap in animation for the human characters from Toy Story 1 to Toy Story 2, it almost makes me want to criticize Toy Story 1, which I really shouldn't, because it's a fantastic film and it's an amazing feat for animation. But this film outdoes it a lot. The animation's a lot smoother, the faces look more human, but they still somehow keep, dare we say, that kind of classical Pixar design. It still looks like a Pixar character without looking almost too realistic, which is what you get with most of the modern day films with humans in it. Like if you look at Inside Out, it almost looks too like normal, whereas if you go back, at least you kind of like, it's still animated. They're not trying to imitate real life too close, and of course at the time they clearly were, but it really does feel, it gives more character to it by having someone who looks like a human a little bit more, but not so human that it's, you know, uncanny valley. But I think as well as that, just the interactions with different things in the film. Sid doesn't really interact with much as a character in the first film, and Andy only interacts with the toys, whereas you've got him driving in this film, you've got him doing various different actions, such as stealing things, and that's all animated through the eyes of the binoculars, or it's animated through him outside of that. You've got him interacting with other humans, which we've got with the Jerry sequence as well. So it's like there's so much going on with, like, you know, the human interactions in this film. It does feel like a massive leap.
Yeah, I mean, I think the smart thing they did with the first couple of films as well is that the human characters that they did have are kind of caricatures. So, you know, Al is kind of a caricature of those sort of sleazy salesmen, so that he's got the over the top kind of comb over and beard and bowling shirts. Even Jerry is a kind of caricature of old men. And then you get Boo, and it's like, well, it's quite easy to animate a child. And, you know, even if you think about like Darla in Finding Nemo, she's meant to be like this grotesque, terrifying nightmare child. And even to a degree, The Incredibles, they're kind of exaggerated caricatures. Like, you know, Syndrome has a massive forehead. He almost looks like Pennywise. You know, like Mr. Incredible's face is basically a semicircle with a ridge cut out and things like that. And I think they were kind of smart to do that. That they kind of mitigate the criticism by being like, yeah, but he's meant to be weird looking. He's a weird guy. So I think that's quite smart. But the animation on him, the hair is really, the textures in this film are really something. I think so much more than maybe A Bug's Life and the first Toy Story.
You
get
notice
so
it on the
many
dog's
different-
hair. The dog's hairs in the
The dog's
frame. You
hairs is
notice
the-
it.
just the dust when he's on the shelf
Yeah.
talking to Wheezy. The fact that even in like Toy Story has aged very well, but a lot of it is very shiny plastic looking, intentionally, I think. But they very sparsely use other materials. Even the plants in the house have a little bit of a fake plant look to them. In this one, you have scenes where it's like Woody, who's part plastic, part cloth. Jessie with her hair that's like string. The material that Bullseye's made out of. Even the fact that his tail's meant to be kind of like foam and his body's meant to be something else. It's just the textures of the film are so much more impressive. And one thing that always impressed me is It's the dumbest thing. Is the Cheetos, the What's-Its that he stands on. They're so impressive the way they crumble properly, and I'm so impressed by I'm just so impressed by all of it.
No, I'm going with Spaghetti because as well, bringing in Jerry from the first short film that was there before Bugs Life, it's that kind of, we need another human for one scene. It's not Andy, it's not his mom, it's definitely his dad because he's absent. It can't be Al. I think it's great to bring in, okay, I don't want to say no one saw it, but short films, people will remember, was that the guy from before A Bug's Life? Contextually, they're probably not going to remember a short film from 18 months before. But we get one of the all-time great sequences with the cleaning of Woody, which I absolutely love. And we used to say it's the interactions within these different environments that they need, that they have to work on, and they're so good at working around their limitations. And I don't, devil's advocate, is it because in 2025 Pixar is the juggernaut studio that there aren't limitations as such in the animation realm? I'm not that stupid to say that out loud, although I've said out loud that I know it's not as simple as that. But here it is, we cannot do this way, right? So we're going to have to find a way to make it work. And because I'm not an animator, I don't know what the limit of animation is in 2025, which is, I guess, something that's evolving as every passing year goes by.
Did Toy Story 2 have a short film released before it?
Nope.
No.
We got bloopers. I think, I could be wrong, is the next short film
For the Birds?
One Man Band? Or maybe For the Birds. That's been spotted in the Hoppers trailer.
For the Birds was Monsters, Inc.
Maybe it's that next one. I'm not entirely sure. I all know is One Man Band is Michael Giacchino's first Pixar film. So that's got to be before The Incredibles, I think. Maybe that was after Monsters,
Hold on.
Inc.
No, One Man Band was Cars. I've got it up now.
Was it Cars?
Yeah, you've got Jerry's Game was A Bug's Life. And then you've got For the Birds, which was Monsters, Inc. Then you got Boundin', which was The Incredibles. And One Man Band was Cars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. So when I went to, this is to go way off topic, I went to Michael Giacchino's first concert at the Royal Albert Hall for his 50th birthday. And he said the first Pixar job he worked on was One Man Band, which was before Incredibles. Maybe that was done and they just never released it for years after. That's very interesting. That's one I need to. I'll read up on that. But I mean, we've spoken a lot about the production, the animation. I want to ask you both about the story, right? And this is a big thing for me. So, Toy Story 1. It's kind of about the imagination of a kid, right? Okay, what is the concept that toys are alive when you're in the room? What's a good kid going to do who's got a very, let's say, polite imagination? And what could a bad kid do who, if I'm honest, has a much better imagination, but, is deemed as a psycho murderer to these toys that he is, torturing, Frankensteining, you name it. At the age of 29, who has been a big fan of Star Wars for almost all his life, who has seen firsthand Star Wars fans, Star Wars collectors, has had people irately message him on eBay for any slight corner damage possible. I really want to say it's underspoken about how genius it was to make Toy Story 2 a film about collectors. They could have so easily done another Sid, done another toy thing, but the idea of when you look at toys, certainly in this day and age, we know how big collectors are within that industry, within hobbies, the value, the marketing, all those sorts of things demand. Like Labubu's getting a film now because they're a demand thing. I love the idea of Al stealing Woody to complete a set to get rich from. It's so evil, and I think it adds to how great this film is when you're a bit older and you realize people like that exist, that collectors are like that with certain things. Mint in box condition on the Prospector, great villain twist. He's never been mint in condition all along. I love the story, and I love that it opens the gate to explore more of the world. We'll talk about maybe Al's Toy Barn in a little bit of time, but the whole sequence there is incredible. But what do you guys think of the story itself?
I mean, if we're looking at Al directly, he's the kind of person who nowadays would be scamming kids for Pokemon cards online. Like, he is that guy who would be like,
the Costco queues taking them all.
Which means that this film is still so relevant for nowadays. But I love the comparison between Sid, who is there to destroy the toys, and Al, who's the opposite end of the spectrum. He's there to preserve them, but he wants to make a profit off it. And it shows the kind of evil nature of people and what they'll do for greed. He'd be willing to steal and lie just to be able to complete a collection, just to be able to sell it to a museum and make a lot of money. Like, that is kind of the basis of the character, and especially linking to the lack of available Woody dolls or Buzz Lightyear dolls after the first film. I
wonder why.
I am 100% sure that someone in the world, maybe multiple people, were Al before the second film. They were buying the dolls and trying to sell them on for a lot more money because they were rare items. So it was a very easy almost plot for them to write. It almost mirrors what I assume would have happened in real life. But I think it is a fantastic idea. It's not just a fantastic idea to take your comedy and rip off various different film franchises. Not rip off, pay homage to. Pay homage to various different film franchises like Star Wars and all the things in there. But also the fact that in this film, they also franchise out a bit. They mention things like, is it Scalextrics they mentioned? Or was it Hot Wheels? They mentioned the Hot Wheels aisle or Scalextrics aisle. You've got Barbie in the film as well. You've got Barbie in the film as well. You've got different merchandising in there. Like, there are Cheetos on the floor. Everyone knows they're Cheetos, but they don't have to say they're Cheetos, kind of thing. It's one of those things where they branched out and they made the film bigger. It's one thing for a film to be kind of as a start-off point. They made the world bigger. They made the story bigger. They made the characters way more in-depth and way more enriching because they were put into different environments, because they had different interactions. And one of my favorite parts of the story is the interactions with the Woody's Roundup characters, because it's like franchising in a nutshell. You've got your Buzz Lightyear franchise, and like, you got the new utility belt, so that's being pushed further. But Woody never knew that he was part of something bigger, and he is part of something bigger. He was the lead member of a kind of a Wild Western gang. Don't say clan. Don't say clan. He was.
Oh no!
I'll talk about that a little bit later.
He's there to save the critters. God damn it! No, he was part of something which may have been bigger than Buzz Lightyear was. Like when Buzz Lightyear launched, like that is something that he never knew. And it's fascinating to see kind of Woody's character develop in that way, because past the first film, I wouldn't see how his character could develop, and they found a way. So I just think the story, it's brilliant. It's absolutely fascinating. All the characters work well together. And yeah, I just find it hilarious that it is almost like a mirror image from the first film. One's going to destroy, the other one's there to preserve.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a much more sophisticated story as well, which sounds crazy for a film aimed at families. But when you think about Toy Story, it's just this leads to this, and this leads to this, and this leads to this, and you're just following these two characters. In Toy Story 2, it branches off. So you have two concurrent storylines that we're cutting between. We're cutting between the mission to rescue Woody, where they're, the great big adventure in the world. And then at the same time, you're cutting between this adventure comedy road movie, essentially. It's a road film, and a very intimate, almost drama, really.
Family
it's weird to say.
Drama, yeah.
It's about a family being reunited, and that's kind of a really interesting juxtaposition to have, where you have these two storylines that are eventually going to converge. They're barreling towards each other. And one of them is very much it's a status quo type thing of they want to go back to the way things are, and Woody might actually not want that. And I think that's a really interesting thing to do. And, what's great is the road movie aspect is a great way of expanding the lore and the franchise in one respect, introducing Barbie, introducing the Rock'em Sock'em robots, introducing the Isle of Buzzes and Zurg as well. And then you've got this other storyline that is introducing these three other characters and kind of exploring a what if situation there of like, well, what if Woody was a part of a set? What would that set be? And that's kind of, that's kind of an interesting thing. And I do think this film as well, the first film is so great because all the characters are memorable and they all have really distinct personalities. And I remember they were discussing Woody's, like Andy's toys are basically like an office, and that's how Woody sees being a toy, is like a job, and he's kind of the area manager. And then you have all the kind of office stereotypes. So you have like the sarcastic one, the one that's difficult to work with is Mr. Potato Head. The really neurotic member is Rex. There's the will they, won't they in the office between Woody and Bo Peep. And then this new manager comes in and everyone likes this new manager more. And then they said in Toy Story 3, Bonnie's toys are more like a theatre troupe. And I just think it's a really interesting that there's all these really, it could have been possible to create new characters that weren't as good. And yet, every new character they introduce, they immediately fall into the groove of the first film. Like Mrs. Potato Head is hilarious. Wheezy is one of the most adorable characters Pixar's created. And then Al is hilarious as well. And then when you meet the Roundup gang, they take the time to kind of make you fall in love with the Roundup gang. So they're not just an obstacle for Woody to get back to his friends. They're actually a family unit that he can kind of see himself slotting into, and that they need him, and that maybe Andy's toys don't need him as much. They already, it's kind of a Captain America Iron Man thing. They already have two patriarchs. Buzz is a patriarch and Woody's a patriarch. These guys don't have a patriarch and they kind of need one. And maybe he feels a little bit more needed there. And I think, I just think it has room to breathe as well. That's what's great about it. It's got great character moments. The bit where he discovers the wall of memorabilia, and he's just like, he's in awe of all of this stuff is great. So I just think it's a much more mature film.
Fun fact, they show Tom Hanks all the merchandise for that scene, as in we've designed all this lore about Woody, and the noises or his reaction was what they then put on the film. But that wasn't Tom Hanks. That wasn't him like being awe. That was them showing it him, getting the audio, and then animating it in, which I think is really cool that they can go somewhat the other way. But it's interesting with Woody because he is a narcissist, and the film continues that question because he is swayed by the museum, and it's that you would be like a legend. You're the head of this group. You'd find a new place for yourself because you're the head of them, and you'd be in this place. And I'm not gonna lie, a Toy Story Night at the Museum type film would go extremely hard, and it kind of made me think, not to segue into a very quick topic on Toy Story 5. Toy Story 1, as we spoke about, right? It's kids with imaginations playing with toys. Toy Story 2 is, okay, you put a collector involved. What does the story do? Toy Story 3 is about the adult who outgrows his toys. What do they do when they're too old to play with the toys? Toy Story 4, it doesn't ask any actually important questions. Toy Story 5, and this is why I'm okay with Toy Story 5. It is maybe the great question of the last 20 years. What do you do with toys when technology is involved? Technology has come in. And I think there is an incredible premise for Toy Story 5 to make an incredible film from. And I am both optimistic and both desperate that it is great for that. That it absolutely, they could have told that story for Toy Story 4, but they didn't. And I'm just that's why I'm a bit relaxed with Toy Story 5. Okay, I don't like Bonnie, and I know that's a big thing online. It's a child. I think one of the Pixar directors came out this week and was like, no one's telling you to watch Toy Story after Toy Story 3, which is a fantastic way to like stick the middle finger up at the grown men who hate Bonnie. Because it's true, like, don't watch it if you don't care. Like, you've got a trilogy, no one's telling you to watch more. And I agree with that sentiment. But I think there's a good concept in Toy Story 5, and a good concept can be a good film. This film executes it perfectly. We've got, as you mentioned, Paul, we've got Buzz Lightyear, his tree, what happened to him, his story, expanding on his world and his lore, from the back of a box in a monologue in the first film. And now we've got all this deep stuff in the second. We've got Woody, his roundup, his gang, his crew. We've got what they're up to and what his history is with those. So it takes these key characters, and as you said, it brings in Barbie, which for anyone that's curious, that was going to be Bo Peep. And Mattel were like, nah, you're not having Barbie. Not interesting enough. And then obviously Mattel straight away was like, yeah, we'll give you Barbie for Toy Story 2. We'll even make an exclusive Barbie model just for the film. I do want to say, just on the concept of collectors in this stage, I can't remember which you brought up. I'm not on an affiliate link, so don't get mad at me. So we're recording this the 20th of November, 2 days before the 30th anniversary. This week, the Disney Store has launched an entire range of Toy Story 30th anniversary merchandise. Now, I've never been one for Toy Story merch as an adult because it's a very slippery slope. There's one insane collector's range called the Signature Series, and they'll go for hundreds, which is why I can't. I had a Buzz Lightyear, and I sold it because I was just eyeing up the Woody Bullseye, and that would just, become too much as an adult, if I'm allowed to say that. They've done a £150 Bo Peep model this week, and it's actual, the material looks incredible. It's in the box, it's everything. Already sold out within 24 hours here in the UK. So the collectors are still out there, which is funny of what you're saying, Tate, about the whole these people would exist buying the Toy Story toys. They are. They do it still. Mm-hmm. The scalpers will always try to find a way. But I will be having my Buzz Lightyear mug, which I'm very excited about. It's literally.
I've already got my Mr. Prickle Pants still in his box because I love Mr. Prickle Pants. He was hilarious.
I have a Duke Kaboom shirt in the garage that I bought when Toy Story 4 came out. I might wear it if I can fit back into it by the time it gets Toy Story 4. I should be able to fit back into it by then, no problem. But I just thought, again, because the questions that this film asks are with us decades later. But let's talk a little bit more about some of those characters. So we spoke a lot about Woody. Obviously, we get Tom Hanks back. I don't have a lot to say unless we group it with Woody's roundup and we just switch the schedule slightly. Tate, you kind of hit the nail on the head that we see him in his environment with those people, the backstory, what you grow for them. I did not know that Bullseye was originally going to speak. This is something I found out this week, and I don't know if you all know this. Bullseye wasn't just going to speak. Oh, wait for it, gets better. Martin Short was going to voice him.
Okay.
They decided that it would work better if he was more of like a really excited child that just didn't speak. But yeah, Martin Short had been hired to voice him, which
it's so good.
I know, but I love Bullseye. But I guess bringing in Stinky Pete, Kelsey Grammer, Joan Cusack playing Jessie, who was invented because John Lasseter's wife was like, you need to have a female character that can actually be in this film. Imagine releasing that in 2025. The incels would be absolutely raging at Jessie, who obviously has the standout scene of her being abandoned, that song.
Yeah, which is really weird that it just becomes a musical for one scene.
Powerful. It's a ballad as well, like in a kid's
but it's just really random that they're like, should we do a musical now? It's a bit like, in Hook, where there's just a random musical number. You're like, why?
But I want to talk about that scene anyway, because it is the power hit for the scene. I think it works. I know, but it's one of those where it's like, it is emotional. I was reading up on kind of, the cast reactions to the scene because they weren't sure whether they're going to put it in, but apparently Tim Allen, Tom Hanks both bawled their eyes out, listening to it and watching the scene. So yeah, okay, we'll keep it. But it's brilliant because it shows that Pixar as a company doesn't have to rely on the fact that they are the studio that is the, computer generated animation to actually prove that they can storytell without, the voice actors, without anything. And I'm sure they have taken inspiration from the scene, because one of Pixar's most famous scenes ever, the opening minutes of Up, takes inspiration from this scene of being completely no words spoken. It's clear that that scene comes from the fact that this scene worked well. And it makes Jessie's story heartbreaking. It makes it even more heartbreaking that she isn't willing to kind of, let Woody go. And that story continues throughout the film. It builds on the narrative of found family, and, your family is kind of, where is your home and what is the best thing to do in Woody's situation. It gives an emotional beat that the first film I don't think had. Like, there wasn't a moment in the first film where I thought, oh, actually, I feel quite emotional by this, I might cry, kind of thing. Whereas this really builds that up.
Disagree there.
Buzz, is it the Saying No More?
No. For me, it's in Toy Story 1. It's when they're stuck in the crate, and Woody finally admits why he's so jealous, and he's like, "You are a cool toy, maybe too cool." And it's like, that is the bit where I'm like, oh. Self-realization, yes, please.
What else did we realize?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But that's me personally.
this film needed an emotional beat, because this is like 2 jokes, 3 jokes a minute, and this is the one moment where everything slows down, and you almost realize the stakes of it. She is playing for the fact that, like, this is maybe her last chance to do something, to have a family and to have that around her. And of course, Stinky Pete, you don't know this. Well, we don't know this as the audience at the time, but he's willing to sacrifice anything to get basically Jessie's thing put through. Oh,
I read something which has blown my mind, which I don't know if you both know this.
Go on.
You know how they say Woody's Roundup was cancelled right before the season finale? Do you know the truth? This changed everything. So apparently, I found this out today, Stinky Pete tells them all, obviously, it got cancelled. And this is before we know he's a villain. When Buzz, etc., are in the penthouse and they're playing Woody's Roundup, when we get the door being sealed, or the vent being sealed, etc., the finale is playing in the background. And Woody and Jessie made the jump. And I did not know this at all. This is like insane, or that no one's really spoke about. It's the audio and a very slight visual in the background that confirms it all, and it basically goes to show, like, they were telling you from the beginning Stinky Pete was a villain, but no one seems to have ever picked up on that until it was on the IMDb spoiler trivia part. I just completely blew my mind that was there the whole time. I've never seen someone bring it up, I've never seen someone discuss it, but they confirmed that Woody makes the jump, because I was always sat there like, wouldn't a great Disney Plus series be actually doing Woody's Roundup? But yes, I needed to say that. Sorry to jump in. Well. Yeah, like, sorry to jump in, Tate, but I thought that's massive.
That's insane to find out. Yeah,
it's such a small detail as well.
That's crazy.
Sorry, I'd forget if I didn't bring it up, because I forgot a great bit about Bug's life until after we recorded. But yeah, sorry to detract from you.
No, I'm just reading it up now on the wiki.
Yeah,
Hold
it's
on.
mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's really spoke about that online.
No, but I think the one of the things, and it's that maturity of storytelling that I was saying earlier, is that what I think is quite interesting is that the film, that storyline that I say is like a drama, explores trauma in a really interesting way, I think. And it sounds crazy because it's a movie about toys, but you think about Jessie, she's constantly having panic attacks.
Yeah.
That fear of abandonment. You look at Bullseye, who is essentially, like this says, like a little kid who's just kind of wants to belong. And then you look at how trauma affects someone like Stinky Pete, who, yeah, all right, he's the villain, but actually the idea that every other toy got bought and you're the one that knows.
Constable Zuvio, for those that know who that is. Force Awakens peg warmer. Chancellor Valorum for the Phantom Menace. Constable Zuvio for the Force Awakens. They were the two that no one ever bought.
Who's Constable Zuvio in the Force
Awakens? Precisely. He was cut from the final film, and he was.
Oh, well, there we go.
There you go. Yeah.
So
sorry, I was going to say, back onto George's thing. I wonder, lore-wise, because it is true, it does play in the background. Did Al collect the final episode? Did it ever air, or did he just have access
Well, no,
to it?
this is it. It always aired, but
Yeah.
Stinky Pete had told Jesse and Bullseye and Woody that it never did. So they all spent their whole lives thinking it never did, but actually it always
And
had.
he uses it. He uses that lie
To manipulate them into
Woody
wanting to find out more.
and to not liking Buzz Lightyear. Because
Correct.
he says it got cancelled because of
Space.
Sputnik.
Sputnik, yeah.
Then he says, once the satellite went up, people only wanted to play with space toys, and we were pulled. So, but again, it's that kind of thing of that lack, that kind of desire to belong and not belonging turns you into someone so bitter and twisted that you can't, you focus on the one thing you think will make you happy, that you won't open yourself up to other opportunities. Like the fact that towards the end, Woody says, why don't we just go, you three should come with us, go live with Andy.
Yeah.
He'll love you guys. And that really lovely line when he says, she's like, what if Andy doesn't want to play with a girl toy? And he's like, well, he's got a little sister. Like, it's such a lovely moment. But Pete can't see beyond his own pain. And he's like, no, the museum is where we should be. That's what I want. And I don't want anything else. And it's like, you do kind of want to go like,
his toy didn't sell,
idiot.
and therefore his toy never got played with.
Yeah, and it's like, but Andy would play with you. He would love a villain. He loves having that kind of character. Like, it's just, like I say, it's just such an interesting. I think Stinky Pete is a great villain, and I think as well it helps that the fact that Jessie does talk like a cowgirl. And then you get Stinky Pete that you imagine's going to be like, oh my, I got to go down the road. And then he talks and he's Frasier. It's such a great juxtaposition. This short, fat guy with, like a gold tooth. And yet he's like, hello, I'm Frasier. I'm listening, San Diego. He's about to tell you he's having tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
But this is it, and it's character development on top of the world building, right? That you're getting Woody's story. Because what could you have done from Toy Story 1 to 2? That is a big thing. And even if we talk about Buzz as well, whilst he doesn't have development in this film, and I don't mean that as an insulting way, his character arc is certainly complete more so in one. He is, the current popular action toy that has to discover he is not real. He is a toy all along. This is more of the leadership traits we see in him, like, he's there to get Woody. Like, he's Woody's number two guy. Like, it's them two together. And I love the whole subplot of now Andy's toys have to go and rescue Woody whilst he's on camp. Great little easy way to chuck Andy out for a couple of hours of storytelling, i.e., a couple of weeks in real life, so the toys can have an adventure by themselves. I love Buzz in this one. I think is at its funniest. I want to praise Tim Allen's voice work because we get the incredible comedic sequence of the Isle of Buzz Lightyears. That they are all how Buzz was before he gets to the realization. There's, like what happens in Toys, there's a newer version. He has a utility belt. I think it's incredible. I love the fight. I love him in this, but I have to talk about Emperor Zurg. Loved him as a kid. Obviously, Darth Vader parallels about knowing it as a child. To even play the whole dad thing is insane. And I don't know the behind the scenes. I know obviously George Lucas, was very fond of what's the right word should we say? Parody. He's never going to say no to Star Wars being in the limelight when he was running Star Wars. Contextually, this is the same year Star Wars is back. This is like the golden ticket for the guy that theoretically is at the inception of Pixar themselves by being a bit of techie made in the 80s that they didn't use. To have it come full circle. I love Zurg. I think Zurg functions so well as a villain too. As in, I know he's not a villain in the story, but we get to find out about Buzz's world and Buzz's story as well as Woody's. But Woody's are essential to the story at hand. Buzz's are essential to the comic relief secondary subplot. I loved all of it. I loved the opening sequence. I'm a big fan of this. I don't have much to say unless you guys want to take over.
I was going to say, I liked Buzz in this film because I think that interaction with the newer version of Buzz sums up in one line as, did I really used to speak like that? Kind of like that interaction straight away. It shows how far the character has come from the first film even if you didn't realize it. Like, it's one of those, like, I used to be like that, really? I was that obnoxious? Kind of like, I didn't understand I was a toy. But no, I really enjoyed kind of what they did with Buzz in this film, because it showed you how far he's come, but it also shows you how far he's willing to go to rescue a friend. And, you know, that's almost like that kind of theme of, you know, your chosen family, which is what Woody's dealing with, and the found family, which is what he chooses in the end. It has a lot of modern day things without even saying the modern day things. Personally, for me, I mean, this is something that I noticed when rewatching this with the Buzz Lightyear scene with all the things going up. I think I know why modern day Toy Story 2 is looked back on with more favor than Toy Story 1. Toy Story 2 is so memeable. Like, the amount of memes that have come from Toy Story 2 compared to Toy Story 1, you've got the whole "I don't want to play with you anymore." You've got the Isle of Buzzes and stuff like that. You know, there is so many different memes in this film, which I was like, oh my god, like, either I'm completely brain rotted from the amount of stuff that I see online, or, like, you know, there's only like
I agree.
There's only one meme I can remember from, like, Toy Story 1, and, you know, Paul laughs at it every single time. But apart from that, like, Toy Story 2 just is meme after meme after meme.
I agree. I think it's the Leo clicking finger meme. It's like you're watching it without realizing. It's like, oh my god, I forgot that's everywhere these days. And it's a self-aware film, and I think Buzz is a self-aware character, which kind of adds to the comedy side of it all. I mean, talking about comedy, I have to talk about a deleted scene. I know we're talking around characters. I'd forgot about this. I hadn't seen since I was a kid. Maybe I don't know, but the now deleted Stinky Pete casting couch gag. So obviously, I love the outtakes of these when they're playing them at the end. The outtakes, the blooper, whatever they want to call them. So I just completely forgot, or maybe that's time I saw this. Because I was watching the Blu-ray, so it's still included.
If you watch the VHS.
Yeah, VHS, this is on. DVD, this is on. Not on the 4K, which surprised me, and not on Disney Plus, which we now know. The Stinky Pete casting couch gag, that's it, is gone. For those that don't know, it's the final blooper. It's after the Bugs Life 2 one. And there are two Barbies in his box, and he promises them a role in Toy Story 3. Now, what makes this joke funnier is obviously the fact that A, they did make a Toy Story 3, and B, there's a Barbie in Toy Story 3. And I read a bit more into it that Kelsey Grammer's actually spoke about it. I don't want to do the whole Hollywood woke, blah, 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 angry tirade online. I think Kelsey Grammer summed it up best, where he basically says, well, I'm surprised they've got rid of it. The problem is this is Hollywood pretending they didn't. Them taking it out is them trying to remove it from the fact that it was included and this was a part of the industry, which is kind of the right way of selling it. Like, they're just trying to edit their history when it's out there and everyone knows about it. That being said, given the John Lasseter stuff that would obviously come down, not that there was any casting couch stuff with Pixar, it's a very adult joke. Personally, as a kid, I didn't turn to my parents clearly and say, what's the casting couch? I don't think many kids would have. I don't think many kids would have got it. I don't think that many kids are staying to the end of the outtakes. As an adult, I find it funny. I understand why it's removed, but I think it's a bit weak. I think it's more of it, if they did those gags now, they just wouldn't have put a joke like that in. So I don't want to say it's overblown. I think it's a very funny joke in industry. And it feels very rash of them to have removed that in 2019.
It just feels like an over course correction. Again, this is the thing. You know, I just think with so much of Disney Plus, and I know even this gets people riled up, but I don't have a problem with, you know, before you watch Aladdin or Pocahontas or whatever, it says, you know, the depictions in this are a product of their time, and we don't endorse this because, you know, a lot of those ones, you know, Peter Pan has it because the Native Americans in that are quite racist. But I'm like, I would rather that than you just, you know, wholesale cut things, because it's like, well, no, actually, it's quite a good way of going, hey, this is what passed for family entertainment in 1950 or whatever, and I always, as I got older, I always took that Stinky Pete gag as a thinly veiled jab at Weinstein.
Yes,
He's a
100%.
short, fat guy with a beard. That's Harvey Weinstein. That's what I kind
That's
of
who you
took it
think
as.
of.
I kind of took it as a Weinstein reference, and also because so much of the film is so literate to the industry that's I just took it as that, but I think it's a bit silly.
I agree, but at the same time, like it's one of those things where if people want to watch the gag, it's still available. It's just not available on kind of the platforms that they're preaching right now, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's not Star Wars special editions that you've like changed the character motif. Like it's a gag. It's on YouTube. It's a funny gag. Do you guys have any other characters you want to talk about, or do you want to jump into score? I don't know if I've missed anybody. I don't feel I have.
I mean, there's a few gags from some of the characters that come through. Like, I mean, you've got a Jurassic Park reference for Rex.
Great reference.
Brilliant reference. You've got Slinky joining on the adventure. You've got Mr. Potato Head joining in an adventure. Like, it's like there's a gang of characters at this point who are kind of like, I don't want to put Buzz in the sidekick character kind of thing, but like all of them have kind of the side storyline that does barrel towards the main thing. They all have at least one moment which is hilarious or funny, and it just kind of keeps the plot moving along and keeps you almost kind of entertained for the time being whilst the main story kind of is going on in the background.
Agreed.
Yeah, I do find the joke when they're in the car with Barbie and Mr. Potato Head's going, I'm a married spud, I'm a married spud, I'm a married spud. It's very funny. And then was it Ham's like, single people to the front? It's quite funny. I find that it's hilarious, and I love Wheezy. I think Wheezy, this idea of like an emphysema-ridden toy is hilarious to me.
I don't know if either of you watched Celebrity Traitors, and this is different.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah,
when Nick Mohammed came out in the tux on the finale, I looked, and I don't know if this is a meme. I was like, he looks like Wheezy out of Toy Story.
He thinks he feels the song coming on.
And Nick Mohammed is so cute as well. That's what made me think a bit more like he's a really likable, not like actor, but like he's just a really likable individual, like a very genuine actor. And I was like, oh my god, he looks so much like him. Like he's dressed up for the finale. Loved Wheezy.
I feel a song coming on.
And it's a great thing, right? What happens to the toys that are broken or go on a shelf? I mean, yard sales aren't really a thing here, but you had a toy and it goes on the shelf, you never see it again. It's very real.
Car boot or charity for the UK.
Yeah, and now everyone goes to car boots with those ridiculous meta glasses, trying to scam people. Not that I do car boots. If I did, if anyone comes at me in glasses, I'm just going to add a 0 on the price.
I love a car boot sale. I love a car boot sale.
But
yeah, I just love the film, and it's so funny. It is so funny.
Let's talk sorry, Paul.
No. I just love it.
Let's talk the scores. So, Randy Newman, 3 for 3 on Pixar. This is interesting one to talk about. So, I've been listening to the scores between each video. I've never ever, and I'll be totally honest in saying this, I've never listened to a Pixar soundtrack on its entirety by itself, like on a walk or something. Certain songs have popped up here and there. I've been to Michael Giacchino concerts, so I've heard Up Live, which is quite something. But it's really interesting to listen to the scores in isolation. Toy Story 2 is interesting because in the function of the film, an approach they had was whenever there were scenes where it's humans only, there was a very dour score, or there was very deeper instruments, basically no excitement. They wanted it to be dry when it's humans. When the toys are on screen, more imaginative, more explosive, which is a subtle but smart storytelling choice. You're not going to top the songs from the first one, if I'm allowed to say so, as in the actual, Strange Things Are Happening is one of my favorites. Sailing No More. Obviously, You've Got a Friend in Me, all classics. I really have to add that Woody's Roundup is a phenomenal song. I know.
Yeah, love Woody's Roundup.
Yeah, I know it's an intro, but it's technically a TV intro. It functions as that. It functions as its own thing, as its own theme for Woody, and obviously the Somebody Who Loves You for Jesse, which is an absolute monster of a song. Like, again, a ballad in an animated Pixar film. That would never happen today, if I'm allowed to say that. They just wouldn't do that today. I don't think they'd have the composer that involved that early to even do that scenario, let alone animate and play around it. What did you guys think of the score?
It's something that I didn't really focus on in this film, and I think that's maybe because when I think of the score, I do just kind of think of the Toy Story 1 score, if that makes sense. Like,
Agreed.
you know, it's just kind of like it's there in the film. It's not the key focus of the film. The two parts where it stands, actually no, the three parts where it stands out would be When She Loved Me, it would be Woody's Roundup, and Jerry's scene, where it really does stand out. And it elevates that scene. And that could have been its own Pixar short film. And I know this is very early on, but that is one of my favorite scenes from the film.
It's got the when he pulls open the drawers, it's got the chess pieces from the short film as well.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Lovely little detail.
But the music elevates that scene, and it's very noticeable in that scene. So that's kind of where it stands out.
Yeah, I mean, the score is, because it's reprising a lot of the themes from the first one. I don't think of it that much. I think of it at the beginning when you're getting the introduction to the Buzz Lightyear game, and it's playing like kind of an exciting theme that again will be reprised in Toy Story 3 at the beginning during that fantasy sequence, which I think's good. And yeah, I think the piece of music is called The Cleaner because it's on my playlist.
Yeah.
And that, even as a kid, I was like, this scene is so cool. It's just such a great, it genuinely is a great piece of music. Like, it is just, and that whole sequence is a great sequence, but that piece of music is great. And yeah, I think the first three Toy Stories, I think, have really solid songs. I don't think Toy Story 4 does. I know that's a different film, but like, because you think Strange Things, great. Sailing No More, great. You've Got a Friend to Me. Even though I'm not a huge fan of it because it's overplayed, it is a great song. Yeah, When She Loved Me is like, you know, weaponized machine tool to make you cry. Woody's Roundup is great. Then even in the third one, We Belong Together is a really good song. I really like We Belong Together, and I really like the cover of You've Got a Friend in Me in Spanish, which I think is really good. But yeah, the score I think is good, but I think maybe because it's reprising a lot of the themes from the first one.
I agree. That's absolutely fair. And speaking of the music, still wasn't nominated at the Oscars for Best Original Song. Sorry, for Best Original Score this time, but it was nominated for Best Original Song, which is very understandable as to why it did. No other Oscar nominations for this. So this is 3 for 3 Pixar films.
But
I had to
at this
add
point,
this.
I was going to say at this point there wasn't a Best Animated Feature because that came with Monsters Inc.
Exactly. So I think it is that recollection, like, we need to find a way to animate Toy Story for something because we can't do animated. The thing that blew me out the water, this film won a Golden Globe. This film won Best Comedy or Musical at the Golden Globes. Now, I know people shit on the Golden Globes. It's funny to do so, and they are a very strange organization. It's neither a comedy or musical, but guess what? They never really seem to be at the Golden Globes.
I'd say this is a comedy. I would say this was an out-and-out comedy. Like, it's a family film, but it is, like I said, there's a joke a minute. Like, it's...
I guess because it's animated, you just think of it as animation in terms of that sort of thing. But they'd also classify Beauty and the Beast as a comedy and musical as well. Because I was looking at the history. Did I miss something? Did Toy Story 1 win a Golden Globe? No, just Toy Story 2.
I could see... Here's the thing. I could see Beauty and the Beast as a musical because it has loads of songs in it. And I can definitely see this as a comedy. So I understand the kind of... It's just a weird category.
I guess they just didn't do animated films either. Like, that's probably what it was. They were just finding ways to include them. And box office-wise, this film made $511 million from a $90 million budget. The third highest grossing film of 1999. And what shook me to the core, Now, okay, we were a younger in 99. We all know that Phantom Menace was the highest grossing film. Do you want to know the film that I thought was second? That it actually
The
wasn't.
Matrix.
I thought The Matrix was this. Yeah, I thought The Matrix was second highest grossing film of the year. I, for some reason, assumed that Toy Story 2 outgrossed The Matrix by quite a lot. It was The Sixth Sense that was second.
Wow.
But I find it more, not disrespectful on The Matrix. What people speak about the impact of The Matrix in 99, I know it was so incredibly successful. I just assumed the Matrix just made like a shit ton of money, just not as much as Star Wars. I just didn't think Toy Story 2 made more than The Matrix. They all made a lot of money. Listen, guys, no one got poor that was involved in those. But I just find it fascinating that Toy Story 2 beat The Matrix. Obviously, it's an animated sequel, it's a family film. There's reasons as to why.
I'm more shocked that The Sixth Sense
did so well.
Big hit at the time. Bruce Willis pulled in the numbers back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, it just showed. Well, also, mainly because I'm in my head now, the highest grossing films of every year are franchises, which Star Wars is a franchise, and so is Toy Story. But that's an original concept movie, raking in second most money per year. That's that word of mouth, man. Word of mouth. The culture's changed.
I'm going to whiz through the top 10. I'm not going to do this in any other episode at all, but just for curiosity's sake. 10th place is Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. 9th place is Pixar Illuminati Hopper with American Beauty. 8th place, The World Is Not Enough, James Bond. 7th place, Notting Hill. 6th place, The Mummy. 5th place, Tarzan. 4th place, The Matrix. 3rd place, Toy Story 2. 2nd place, The Sixth Sense. 1st place, Star Wars 1. That's a very interesting. I know that's gonna these days. When maybe I'll do a top 10 on Toy Story 4 because from memory, the top 10 would all gross 1 billion plus, and I think 8 of them were Disney.
Well, yeah, it's just how it goes now, isn't it?
Yeah. Even without COVID, that boom of the late 10s at cinemas was always going to come down. I just don't think the COVID shattering of it was expected to drop it down as much as they thought. Different conversation for a film a long way away. But over to both of you. I want to know your favorite scene or maybe something we've not spoken about yet before we go into final thoughts.
There are, we haven't really talked about the finale yet and the craziness that is the airport scene. It isn't one of my favorite scenes, but I just wanted, it's not like a top scene for me as in my picks, but I'd say there was a good scene and it's quite an entertaining finale and it's satisfying, including the entire kind of, luggage sequence, because as a kid, you always want to know what's going on behind that little screen, and what's going on with the luggage. So it gives you a little bit of insight into that weird and wonderful world. And I'm sure they once again took inspiration from that for the various different doors and the hallway of doors from Monsters Inc. and, the craziness that is that for that sequence. But also the plane escape is pretty cool as a scene and gives you good closure for kind of taking a leap and, for Jesse finally being fully on board and Stinky Pete getting his comeuppance, becoming what is probably going to be a very glammed up doll in the future. But as far as my favorite scenes are concerned, it brings me down to 2 scenes. It's When She Loved Me. That entire sequence is heartbreaking every single time. But actually, my favorite sequence is the cleaning sequence. I find it so fascinating and so what is the word, satisfying to watch. And I'm not a person I don't collect things. I used to collect pop dolls, but they're just out on my side. But it's one of those things where if I want to clean in my house, I might sometimes throw on that song and have that on in the background and just get the little details, pull out the different polishes and just it's just, I don't know why, but it's really satisfying to watch that cleaning sequence. And yeah, it's why it's my favorite scene.
That is fair. I mean, I do quote, "You can't rush art" all the time.
Yeah.
That is one of my most frequently used phrases. I would just say I also really do like the finale. I like Stinky Pete as a character, and 2 of my favorite moments are actually Stinky Pete lines. One is during the climax when they're trying to save Woody, and he says, "You can either go to Japan in peace or in pieces." I like that line. And I also really, my favorite moment, apart from the Jerry sequence, is it's when they say to Stinky Pete, "That's not fair," and he turns around and he has a go at them, and he goes, "I'll tell you what's not fair: spending a lifetime on a dime store shelf watching every other toy get sold." Because Kelsey Grammer's performance is so good, you can see the boiling rage in him, that he's just had enough of everything. And also, funnily enough, the score is like really dramatic in that moment. It's a really dramatic score, and his performance, I think, is really good. Like, yeah, I think that might be my favorite moment, because you also kind of see, like, that's a wound that is never going to heal. Like, he's so far gone that he just cannot see past this tunnel vision of, I have to be at this museum. And I think that's a really great character moment, because everyone else is kind of, they're on the same page, and he's just sort of tunnel vision. So that is probably my favorite scene.
Do you think he might have been the first toy to commit suicide? Like when, like, could you picture, like, not like an adult Toy Story, but could you picture him, like, when he goes to girls, right? It's going to be like hell. He just gets the axe and calls it a day.
Actually, the first toy to commit suicide is Buzz in Toy Story 1 when he jumps off the banister. Like, for sure. He is so done at that point.
I can fly if I wanted to.
He has that horrific ending, and 90% of toys would have been desperate, like, to be picked up by like a guy at the airport.
Well, he's going to be played with for sure.
He is going to be. He'd have been like a sausage party. That film would have been like that film when they see them all getting boiled.
I forgot one line I do like. Sorry, just quickly. You know when Buzz is like trying to rouse them into saving Woody, and he's like, "Did Woody give up when I was thrown out of a window? No." He's like, "And did he give up when I was strapped to a rocket? No." "And did he give up when he was thrown out of a moving truck?" "Oh, you had to bring that up." I just love that.
Favorite scene for me. Okay, I love Al's toy barn, but I need to really like take this away now from the game. I just love the concept of the toys going to the toy shop.
Yeah.
I think it's really imaginative. Okay, it's easy for branding, right? That you can chuck Barbie in, you can chuck them in, but I thought that's something.
Having a pool party.
We didn't even talk about crossing the road as well. Like,
well, another great one-liner. I've got to go all the way to work on a Saturday, and it's that's used a lot. It's so many great one-liners, but I love the whole Al's Toy Mania. The Rose of, I'm pretty sure the lorry has like the company name on the lorry is like a mashed potato pun, because obviously Mr. Potato Head almost gets squashed as well. But if you ever pay attention, this is the beauty of 1080p these days. When it finishes and they're all at a standstill, you can actually see two humans squaring up to each other from the first crash. And I find it very, very amusing. But I also love the opening scene of Buzz. I know it's like the whole fictional, this is on a video game thing, but I was like, I get why Andy loved that toy. Like, if I had seen that at the cinema, I get it. Unfortunately, the Lightyear we know he watched at the cinema was not the same.
Also, it's got a great payoff at the end. It's got the great payoff when he's reading the instruction manual all the way through, and he knocks Zurg off, and he's like, "I defeated Zurg."
Fav.
Great moment.
I'm gonna stay and play with
my dad.
Great going, Buzzy.
George, this is our final thoughts, because, like, honestly, there is this. We've talked so much about, like, you know, our favorite scenes. We've literally named every single scene in the film. This is like
the whole film.
Wow. The Bug's Life 2 that never was. That's like more of a moment of mourning, if I'm honest, that we haven't had one. But again, even the outtakes are fantastic.
Yeah.
That is the last canonical appearance of Flick.
Wow.
And I forgot the name of the caterpillar.
Heimlich.
It's a German name.
Heimlich. Yeah, because they're dead. Because they got courage.
In the Hoppers trailer, there's a caterpillar. And I was actually really angry. It's an okay trailer. It's come out today. But when it cuts to caterpillar, I was like, you fraudulent people. You have the opportunity to put some bugs in this.
Don't listen to them. They are poo heads.
Final thoughts for me though. Like I know with 3 episodes in, this is my favorite Pixar film. This is, I think again from a technical perspective, the first film it created computer animation, the first film to do that made it become part of the studio system. But for this, it upped the ante as a sequel. They were able to improve from a technical perspective, and then from a story perspective, a character perspective, they nailed it. They did everything you wanted and more from a sequel. They developed the characters. They made the story bigger, respectively of scale, environments, the new faces that were brought on board who had become as iconic. It is a very, very rare instance, like the first Toy Story, of a perfect film. And that's my final thoughts.
That's fair. And I can't disagree with anything, because I could turn around and could I even think of a single scene that I didn't like in this film? I can't. It's like, can I come up with any criticism of this film? I really can't. It added on from what the first film did. And it may not be my favorite Pixar film, but it is absolutely up there. Like it's top 1, 2, or 3. Like it is so up there. It's so hard to criticize, and we just went and talked about it for an hour and a half, and I'm coming away from this review smiling, because this film, like rewatching it again for the first time in a few years, it just put a massive smile on my face. It was so entertaining. I could quote most of the lines. The fact that the meme culture is now caught up, and I'm seeing everything kind of repeated and stuff like that. But everything from the performances to the jump in animation, to even the plot being brilliant, and also the fact that it is relevant nowadays. This film is fantastic. It is one of the best Pixar products ever put out, and they're always chasing kind of the vapors of this and Toy Story 1. Like they're always trying to put themselves up against that film as their benchmark for what they can do, because this is kind of it's not the peak, but it's getting so close to it.
There's not a thing I don't like about it. In fact, I love the ending. The final scene is great, with Wheezy singing with the voice of Robert Goulet is so funny to me, with like dancing Barbies. But the final lines of the film actually make me really hate Toy Story 4. Because I love Toy Story 2 so much, at the end when Buzz says, "What happens when Andy grows up?" and he says, "Well, we'll face that when it happens." And then Woody turns and he goes, "But I'll have old Buzz Lightyear to keep me company." You betrayed the movie, Pixar. You betrayed the movie. You fuckers. But yeah, this one I love, and I love the outtakes. I love and your angry eyes and some teeth and some Play-Doh. Every time he flips his thing on, and then it's like got a moustache and glasses. It's so funny. Oh god, I love this film so much.
Exactly. And this has been, 1 hour 37, so we've gone past the runtime, which is fine. Shorter than A Bug's Life. But that was a very different, because we didn't have to come out of this film saying where the hell's the sequel. We're the other way. We got one more, which we wanted.
We didn't have to discuss any problematic people, which is always nice.
Oh yeah, that was. They could have given Hopper a cameo in this in the credits if they wanted to. I'd have been curious, but different conversation for a very different time. That being said, that is rounding out this. So once again, thank you both for taking time out to join me on this. For everybody watching at home, comment your thoughts on Toy Story 2. Whether you're a fan, whether you're not. If you're not, get out. But maybe your thoughts on Toy Story 3, 4, or what 5 could be. We spoke about what the core story might be of that film, and more details are coming out. And you might be thinking, what is coming up next on the Pixar Retrospective? And if you look at the screen, you'll see it now. So next up, we have Monsters, Inc., followed by Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, and then we kickstart 2026 with Cars. But it's a new concept. It's a little bit different in 2006 compared to 2025. Very different generation to that these days. But we'll be discussing that over the next few weeks, so do stick around. We'll be uploading every single Tuesday on the series. Once again, we hope you've enjoyed the video. Comment any feedback. We are still pre-recording this before these episodes get going. So they're going to start very, very, very soon for us guys that are recording. For you guys watching, yes, you're 3 and God knows how many are pre-recorded. But that is me going to be rounding out. Thank you all so much. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.